And the PS5 has no games. I was so close to finishing my pizza, chat. I still have two pieces of crust on my desk, and I was like, I can't eat this food any faster. Good morning, Azalea. I missed you too. First off, thank you so much, Anya, for getting first. Good morning, Pack. Thank you, Robin, for getting second, and thank you, Lilypad. Hi, Lilypad. How you been? For getting third. Now we're gonna go through everybody like we usually do. Moreau. Moreau, sweetie, I hope everything is going very well. I hope school is going super good for you. Hi, Lilypad. Good morning, Goku's wifey. Good morning, Pack. Good morning, Azalea. It's been a little bit. I hope you're doing okay. Good morning, Yuki, and good morning, Casey. Casey, have you ever done any voice acting? Your normal voice sounds like it'd be perfect for like a Pixar movie. Good morning, Cat the Decimator. Good morning, Yama. Yama, it's been a little bit. You must have been one of the first people to ever watch me then, if you were 1 year ago. I don't even remember streaming this far back. Good morning, Vanya. I hope you're feeling better, Vanya. I really do hope you start feeling better today. And good morning, Moxie. You're not going to be here too long. That's okay. Go get some sleep. I'm such a good doggy. That might have been the first game besides Subnautica that I played. God, Dishwasher Simulator. That was so long ago. Do you know I ignored most of that game's, like, stuff? It was such a weird game. You can, like, set up a factory line to wash dishes, or you could just ignore all the dishes and then run through the story. Oh, have fun with your research project. Oh, well, I'm glad you're here now. Azalea, you begin okay? Play PC Builder? Maybe. I tried playing that game once and it is so stressful. Alright, Yama, you have a good one. Being good. So, today, lovelies, thank you for the hydrate. I am waiting for my coffee to cool down. I don't have a blender half full of coffee in front of me. That would be such a weird thing to have. I am having a normal amount of coffee. You know. Thank you, Anya. Enjoy your homework, wifey. It's so hot, though. 1 second while I mute to eat a little bit of my pizza here. Okay. Now, there is one person that I want to see if they're around. Where, oh, where are they? Hmm. Was it Addie? Addie, is Addie here yet? Oh yeah, of course, pizza for breakfast. Oh, I'm sorry. Why is everybody sick? And thank you for the hydrate. Cheers. You all need to take better care of yourselves. From now on, when you come into stream, I'm going to have a checkbox that makes you say, I've been taking care of myself and I've gotten enough sleep. And then I can't stream anymore because I don't take care of myself. I hit them up on Discord to see if they would be here. Because I do want to walk them through this, but, you know. Oh, thank you for the stretch. You gotta, Moreau, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. Well then, I'm gonna have one more bite of pizza and then I guess we'll get started. Oriyamas, what did you want me to call you again? Because I know that the name that you want to be called is very different than your normal one. Mm-hmm. Hi, Pink. Renia or Ren. Okay, Ren. I can remember that. I wish I could like label you so that I would remember right at the back. And now, and then Wicked over there. I don't know how to pronounce their first name, but it was Aika before. All right, lovelies, it is time. We are going to start making a D&D character. Does everybody have their character sheet? Or do people need character sheets? Oh, have they, Azalea? Why were you looking for something? Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't have a character sheet yet, good morning, Hello Kitty. Here is a character sheet for you. Oh, well, come here. Mwah. I'll probably add back the kiss redeem. The kiss redeem is tame. Kiss is fine. I do kisses anyways. You know, well, I don't know how to pronounce that. There's too many letters that don't make sense to me together. All right, lovelies. Good morning, Dar, and thank you for walking your cabbage through here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good morning, everybody. Yes, we're going to be doing, this is 5th edition. 3.5 is fine, but as most games are going to play, especially when you go to a different game store, something are going to be 5e. We're going to walk you through how to do this, the very basics. Okay? Probably we're going off of the original player's handbook. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Be good, Moxie. Rika. Rika, you said you were going to go to bed at 10. What happened? So you're telling me you just lied to me? How dare you? Okay, chat, for this, you're going to need 1d6. All you need is a d6 for this, and potentially another dice depending on what class you pick for your health. But we're starting. Actually, no, we're just doing level 1. You don't need a dice for that. So, everybody, grab a d6. Or use a online dice roller. We ready? Now I'm going to walk you through the sheet real quick. Thank you for the work and good morning, chum. On the top left of your character sheet, you'll have a space for your name. Now, it may not be difficult to assume what goes up there, but I'll tell you anyway. The top left, you're going to put your character's name. And this can be anything that you want. You don't have to fill it in right now, but I'll have you fill it out eventually. Okay? Next, we're going to fill out. So should I screen share this? We'll screen share this, that way you can see what's actually going on. Alright, 1 second, lovelies, while I adjust here a little bit. Boom. And we'll be using the D&D wiki dot, because it's a free resource to find your character race. Now, where did we go? There you are. Yanuo. So please also open that website. Alright, we ready? I'll do. Okay. Now, start with we have the character name, the class level, the background, the player name, the race, the alignment, and the experience points. You may be able to download the sheet to your phone and then use it there. The player handbook suggests going with the race first. So we're going to go to this other website here. Click on the races tab if it wants to work for me. Come on. And we're going to start out with a long list of character races. Oh, I got you, Azalea. Now, the ones that you're going to see on the left are going to be the common races. Common races are all the races that are in the original D&D: Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, Halfling, Human, and Tiefling. Any campaign that you play is most likely going to allow one of these races. If you talk to your DM, if they're willing to use the additional books that are made by Wizards of the Coast, they may allow you to use the exotic, monstrous, or setting-specific characters as well. So, you have your choices. Sorry, I just had something that I needed to refer to real quick. Anyways, so as we were saying, these ones are the exotic that are going to be allowing you to do additional characters. Then you have the monstrous and setting specific. Setting specific are going to be due to very specific D&D books, and I would not suggest them for most situations. Now, because I like fuck-ass goblins, chat, we're going to use fuck-ass goblins today. So we're going to open the character, the monstrous. And here we have everything about the goblin. You, of course, don't need to pick a goblin if you don't want to. Pick whatever race you want. But this is where you start. Now, yesterday, I had mentioned certain races get certain benefits to certain ability scores, okay? Now go back to the character sheet here. Here on the left, strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma are your ability scores, okay? We'll roll those in a bit. But depending on what version of this game you're playing, decides how this ability score is going to be handled. In modern editions or modern versions of 5e, you have it like this. When determining your character's ability score, increase one score by 2 and a different one by 1, or 3 different ones by 1. So if you choose this version of the goblin, it makes it a lot easier to make whatever you want. But if you're using either Volo's Guide, so these are each one's a different book. This is Mordekins Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. This book is called Volo's Guide. And this one is Adventures with Muck, the Dankwood. They each have a different way that they're going to handle how the goblins work. Just make sure with your DM that they approve whichever version you're using. I'm going to use Volo's Guide to Monsters because I like the ability score being locked. So we're going to look at this, look at the goblin, and we're going to start writing down things on our sheet to start with. Race, for me, is going to be goblin. Alignment, I'm not going to do that yet. Player name, LuckyJene. And character name, fuck-ass goblin. The second. Good. We're going to grab all this stuff in a bit. But now that you have your race picked out, we're going to we're going to pick out What do you mean, Yuki? Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the first. Hi, Cookie. Yes, they're fuck-ass the goblin. They are a very long and proud race of fuck-ass goblins. Mm-hmm. I'm lovely, Cookie. Okay, so when picking your class, it's good to look at this ability score increase. 2 to dexterity, 1 to constitution. You might have something different there, or if you're doing the just 2 to 1 to whatever you want, you can pretty much pick whatever. Okay? So we're going to swap to classes now. There's going to be a lot of bouncing back and forth. So, there are 13 classes in D&D. There are more if you use homebrew things, but as we're doing just generic setup, we're going to go through this. First up is the Artificer. The Artificer is like a wizard, but instead of casting spells, they use items and potions and formula to do it instead. Think Alchemist from Full Metal Alchemist. There's some that make magically enhanced armor, there's some that make guns, there's some that make armor, there's some that make potions that when they throw them, they cast their spells. It's a reflavored wizard, essentially. Then we have the Barbarian. Classic, big, burly man, very strong, gets angry, hits things. A lot of different variations. The Bard plays music and uses the power of music to cast spells. Very fun. Lovely, they're good at talking and flirting and all that. The Blood Hunter is something that I normally don't allow, but it is one made officially with Critical Role, so it is something that you usually can use. The Cleric. The Cleric get their power from the gods. They can cast healing spells, do massive amounts of damage, cast incredible things, all with their faith. Cleric is fun because since they're tied to a domain, they're kind of required to remain in a certain attitude. You're not going to be worshipping a god of good who says, treat all the homeless great and then beat up a bunch of homeless people. It's going to piss off that god. Good morning, Leon. Hi, Raziel. The Druid. The Druid casts magic through the power of nature. Whatever their connection, whether it be spores, animals, the stars, the land, they can transform into animals or different shapes, as well as have a very interesting collection of spells. The Fighter. The Fighter is going to be your easiest to play character. I love the Fighter so much. There's a lot of cool variations, but they are your human of the classes. You get a sword or a weapon and you hit with it. The further you move along, the more you hit with the weapon. Eventually, you're hitting so many times with the weapon that it equates a spell strength. I mean, just imagine there's a giant fireball being cast behind you, or you're hit like 6 times with a sword. Same damage. Then we have the Monk. The Monk is another martial class, though they do have some magic elements, who fight with fists or monk-style weapons. Good morning, Zalarian. Instead of relying on the just brute force like a fighter does, the monk relies on their wisdom and their dexterity to be the better fighter. Everybody with kung fu fighting is definitely the monk. The paladin. The paladin, unlike the cleric, though having similar magic, holy-esque magic, they get their power from their oath. Their oath determines who they are and what they do in life, but they also gain power from that oath they make. A lot of it can be holy themed, but some of it is more war themed or more death themed, depending on the kind of paladin you're playing. The Ranger. What do I say about the Ranger? I hear the Ranger is good now. The Ranger is a bellboy. The Ranger fights in the forests and has historically been known to not be very good because he's very, very unique and specific. I hear he's better now, that they've improved the Ranger. Feel free to take the Ranger if that's what you're looking for. The Rogue. This is going to be your stealth fighter, your duelist, your suave man, your Asterians and thieves. Please don't play the Rogue if you just want to steal things. Please have a reason for playing the Rogue besides just stealing things. Because if I have to say, again, over and over, no, you cannot steal from your party. Stop trying to take everything for yourself. I get it. You wanted to be a thief. Please play with the rest of the party. I just get tired of it. Next, the Sorcerer. A sorcerer is a magic caster, but unlike many other magic casters who have to do things to get their power, the sorcerer is born with power. There's something that's gone wrong or right in their past that has made them have power, and not by their direct past. I mean, like, maybe some crazy god doinked to your mother, or maybe an eldritch being got messed up in things and has infused your family line with power. Exactly. I love the sorcerers. It's one of my favorite because they go to wizards, and the wizards are like, oh yeah, how'd you get your power? I spent years training, and the sorcerer's like, I just fucking woke up one day. Yay, background noise. The Warlock. Warlock is one of my favorites. The Warlock makes a deal with somebody else to get to their power. They reach out to the arcane, or they reach out to some being out there, eldritch, fathomless, whatever. Maybe even an angel who wants to give them like a little boost, or maybe a demon, or a devil, or a fae, anything. And those beings come to the Warlock and offer them power. The Warlock takes that power and moves up to the world. Lastly, I believe, yes, is the Wizard. The Wizard's a nerd, chat. And if you pick the Wizard, you are also a nerd. It's just the way it is, I'm sorry. But if you pick the Wizard, you're a nerd, which is okay. You're allowed to be a nerd. But even their categories of spellcasting are determined by school, chat. They had to go to school. 1 second. Thank you for the follow, Wolfa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I had to eat a little food. I want to finish my pizza. So, this is something that I'm going to explain real quick, because it's going to come up later in choosing your spellcasters and such. In the world of D&D, magic is cast by using something called the weave. The weave is little fibers and fragments of power that exist in the world that kind of go through everything. Now, how you access the weave determines how you cast spells. Okay? Imagine hundreds of thousands of threads flowing by you. A wizard becomes attuned with these little weaves, is able to pick and prod little fibers from the weave of magic that's around them. So the wizard has a lot of different spell slots, meaning that they can cast a lot more magic than a lot of other races, or not races, classes. A warlock is like a drunken toddler. They were never taught how to identify the different threads, and so they grab fistfuls of the weave and cast them willy-nilly, which is why warlocks have significantly less spells than a lot of characters. So, if you want to cast a lot of spells, and a lot of different spells, wizard, maybe sorcerer. If you want to cast only a few spells, and you want to be more of a fighting magic boy, warlock. Okay, now, we're going to pick our classes. Now that we've picked our race, we're going to pick our class. If any sort of these classes has sounded good to you so far, go ahead and open it up. Take a little look. I picked the fuck-ass goblin. But you can pick whatever race you want. I'm going to pick warlock. Actually, let me take a look at something real quick. There we go. Okay. So, when you click on one of these characters, you're going to see where it says you must have a charisma score, or you must have whatever score here of 13 or higher in order to multiclass in or out of this race. This is good to know for what kind of attribute is going to be most important to your character. Okay? And this will come up in just a second. So, a warlock, you're going to want charisma being one of your highest numbers. A sorcerer, charisma as well. For a rogue, dexterity. For a ranger, wisdom and dexterity. Paladin is going to be strength, constitution, and charisma. Monk, dexterity, wisdom, potentially strength, depending on how you want to build yours. Fighter, strength, and constitution, druid, wisdom, etc., etc., etc. That'll make more sense when you're actually looking at their spells and seeing what they increase or decrease with. But since we're starting with warlock, I'm going here. We'll keep this open. And now we're going to start doing our rolling. Remember, charisma. Are you ready, chat? You ready to start rolling? We're going to put class, warlock, and then level 1, so warlock 1. Okay. And you're going to write down these numbers for yourself, no matter what you get. We're going to roll 3d6. Oh no. And we are re-rolling ones, because that is how I like to do it. So if you get a 1, re-roll it. A 4. Another 4. A 1. There you go. 3, 4, 4, 3. And you do not have to put them in these slots yet. I'm going to put mine over here so we can move them into our spots later. 4, 4, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. One of our tributes is going to be 11. Again. And you're going to do this 6 times. 3, 4, 2. So that's going to be 9. Thank you for the rain, Penguin. How you doing? How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. What are you all doing? Oh. Sorry about that. I meant to do that. Oh, you're doing ASMR. How was it? Did you have a good time? And thank you for the follow, Fuji. Today we're working on building a D&D character sheet. For those people who have not built D&D characters before, we're walking through step by step. Hello, lovely, lovely raiders. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, a writer, a flirt. If there's anything I can do to make your stay better, please let me know. Good night, Azalea. Oh, fun. Lego building sounds like a lot of fun. And thank you so much for the follow, Fuji. Now, if you need to raid and run, please feel free to do so. But if you'd like to stay and make a D&D character with us, you're welcome to. Thank you for the follow, Yaga. Alright, where were we? We're rolling for our next stat. And remember, we are re-rolling ones. We got a 6. A very good roll. A 2. Same B-Day. When's your birthday, Fuji? Was that today? And a 3. Adding up, 5, 11. No. Not Thank you so much for the redeeming, okay? I'm getting some bad rolls today, chat, but that's okay. This dumb little goblin doesn't need the best stats. He's just a little guy. 3. You rolled like a boss. Oh, congratulations, Casey. Alright. 5, 3, 2, 10. A 4. 4, 5, and our last one, 2. So we'll use the 4, the 4, and the 5, which is going to be 8, 13, I am 31. How are you doing? 4. Yes, we are building a D&D character for those who have never built a D&D character before. How you doing, Makia? 4. It's D and D, but I say D and D. Here, you're right. Let me change this so that it's proper. Calling me out crazy. Oh. 4. And we have our last roll here. Alright, we'll stick with the 4s. 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is gonna be one junky goblin. I mean, oof. Well, it could be worse. It could be worse. Alright. Now, depending on what class you picked in the previous one, it's going to be where you want. Yeah. Yeah, I guess the way I view it is it's like an N with a hyphen, you know? Like, that's how I would say it, D&D. Not a hyphen, sorry, whatever it's called, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. So, depending on what class you picked previously, is where you're going to want to put your stats. Apostrophe, thank you, chat. If you pick something that's strength-based, you're going to want to put the highest number in strength. If you pick something wisdom-based, the highest number in wisdom, as we chose a funk-ass goblin who's going to be focusing on his charisma, we're going to take the 13 here, move it into charisma. Now we have an 11, a 9, another 11, a 10, and a 12. Yes, we're making a goblin. So, a warlock doesn't have much spells they can use, but does have Eldritch Blast. When you're looking at your character, you'll see, good morning, Palma, that a warlock only has proficiency in light armor, so you're not going to want them to get too close, and only has simple weapons. So, we're not going to focus too much on putting a lot of stuff into strength, because we don't want them up front and personal. So, I'm thinking we throw a 12 in dexterity. I'll take the 11, put it in constitution. No, I want more health actually. So I'll take that, put it in constitution, an 11 in dexterity. We'll take the other 11, throw it in wisdom. And the 10 we'll throw into strength for the occasional strength check. And intelligence will be our lowest with 9. Now the reason I did this, strength is going to come up when you want to push and pull things. When you want to get grabbed by somebody. So I want at least a little bit there. Dexterity is going to deal with our armor class and how easy it is for us to get hit. Constitution is going to deal with our, our life force. Intelligence is going to be very specific in a lot of situations, and unless your character benefits from it, It's almost always a safe dump stat. Wisdom. Just for the occasional checks, and also because we have a saving throw for it. And charisma, because that is what our spellcasting is going to be. Now, we're going to go back to whatever race you picked. For me, the goblin. I'm using Volo's Guide. And this gets a +2 to dexterity and a +1 to constitution. Which actually means that I'm going to take this and make this the 12. Oops. This the 11. Because since I'm a goblin, we get +1, which makes this a 12. And we get +2 to dexterity, which is going to make this a 14. What kind of character are you making? Just a random goblin. Is everybody caught up so far? I hope everybody's keeping up. Good morning, Immortal Monarch. I hope you're doing very well. Good. So now we have our stats. 1 second, chat. For those of you who don't have it, the player's handbook is right there. Instead of bouncing around on sites like I'm doing right now, you can just use the player's handbook instead. Love everything you need, okay? Okay. Perfect. So, in the player's handbook, which I'll pull up here. We have the ability scores and modifiers, okay? Very important is going to be this chart in the top right. Thank you for following, Madge. So, this modifier is what we're wanting to focus on, okay? Okay. So, we're going to look at what our numbers here are. 10, 14, 12, 9, 11, 13. And we're going to grab the numbers from here and put them in. We'll start at the top with a 14. It's going to give us a +2 to dexterity. Thank you for the lark. Now for 13 and 12, it's going to be a +1. And if you have numbers above this, you should only be probably around 18 at most. You'll see your stats here. No, you should be at 20 at the absolute highest. But you'll be putting your ability modifiers there working down. So next we have 12 and 13. That's going to be a +1. Now, 10 and 11 +0. And unfortunately, because I rolled so poorly, 8 to 9, a -1. Good. Now these are going to fill in other spaces in a bit. Alright. Going to the right of the sheet here, we have inspiration. Inspiration's not going to matter yet. but proficiency bonus will. So, you go to your class sheet, which this is going to be the same for everybody at the start. Should be the same for everybody all the time. Scroll all the way down to Warlock. You'll have a chart like this, and you can see your proficiency bonus. Okay? So for right now at level 1, thank you so much for the subscription. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a +2. And there we go. We have the start of what we need. And let's keep working our way down. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So this is going to be the same as your numbers everywhere else. So, dexterity, you have a +2. Constitution, I have a +1. Intelligence, -1. Wisdom will be 0. Thank you for the follow, really appreciate it. And charisma will have a +1. And now here is where proficiency starts to matter. Okay? We're going to go back to your class, and you're going to see in here where it says what saves you have proficiency in. These saving throws are going to be determined based on what class you choose, not your race. So here we have wisdom and charisma. And so you're going to just put the little check mark next to wisdom, next to charisma. And this means when you roll those saves, instead of having a +1 here, you'll use a +1 and then +2. You just add your proficiency bonus on top of it. Hi, was that a gifted subs? Thank you so much for the gifted subs. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so very, very much. And I hope all you lovely people with your gifted subs enjoy them. Big W's. All right. Now, moving further down, we're going to fill this out very simply. We're going to change the numbers as we go. But to start with, we're just going to fill these out based on these numbers here. So, dexterity, 2. Animal handling is wisdom, 0. Arcana, intelligence, -1. Strength for me is 0. Deception is charisma, +1. History, intelligence, -1. Insight. I made my wish. Insight, wisdom, 0. Intimidation, charisma, +1. Investigation, -1 since it's intelligence. Wisdom, 0. Intelligence, nature, -1. Perception, wisdom, 0. Performance, charisma, +1. Persuasion, for charisma, +1. Religion, -1. Sleight of hand, dex, +2. Stealth, dex, +2. Survival, wisdom, 0. Good. These numbers are going to change in a bit, but we're just doing this to make it easier, when you need to actually change them. Good. Now, your race and your class are going to have certain skill proficiencies, which is, again, what that proficiency score. What's up, Scripps? What are you having difficulty reading? So, with the Warlock here, I have Arcana. Oh, it's break time. Alright, lovelies, we're going to take a little break here so that everybody can catch up. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You better not go anywhere. It's just going to be a 3-minute break. Mwah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you all being patient while we waited for ads. Welcome back, everybody, from after the ads. For now, we're going back. So, you ready? Okay, we're on skills. All right, let's see. Character sheet, there it is. Now, you're going to choose 2 skills for me. Might be different for you depending on your class. I'm going to be choosing... What do you think? I do. I stream every day during the week at 3:30 MST. One second, I'll type it out. There you go. The first one is the weekdays. I stream twice a day on the weekdays, and then twice a day on the weekends. You can find more on my Twitter, LuckyJene, and I post a schedule every Sunday for both the morning and the evening schedule. But ASMR is always done in the morning, except potentially Sundays, because chat, we might be bringing back 7 Days to Die streams on Sundays. I'm looking forward to it. I really, really, really hope we can bring back 7 Days to Die on Sunday mornings. Okay, so skills, right? We're gonna pick 2 skills. As a fuck-ass goblin, I'm going to pick Deception and Intimidation. Because, of course, but maybe I'm a sneaky little smart little goblin who wants to find things. But investigation is int-based. Okay. So I'm going to do Deception and Intimidation. Because you don't have to be smart if you are sneaky. So Deception, perfect. And Intimidation. So what this means is that whenever we roll these 2, when I roll Deception and Intimidation, because there's a check mark next to the box, I get to add my +2 from proficiency to it. So remember, checkbox means add this number. Checkbox means add this number. If it's easier for you to remember, you can always just add it directly here. So make this 1 a 3 instead. But just remember that you did that. Okay? Good. Now, your class, your race, might also give you some skill proficiencies. So we're going to check on that real quick. Gonna go to the goblin again. And we're gonna scroll down to where I'm using. And we'll see we have alignment, ability and score, age, size, speed. Doesn't look like we have any additional skill proficiencies, but some races will. So it's always good to check. Let me see if this one has one. No. Well, but he does have unique abilities that are a lot of fun. But we're doing follows guide, so this will be fine. Glad you find it fascinating. Good. Now, we've done our skills. We've gotten our proficiencies. We have our ability scores and our saving throws and our proficiency bonus. Next, we're going to move on to armor class, initiative, speed. Okay? Since we're already at the race here, speed is going to be listed on your race. Usually it's going to be 30 feet. It might be 25, it might be a little bit higher, depending on your class, but right now mine is just 30. Perfect. Good. Okay. Alignment. This really doesn't matter. I mean, if you care enough about having an alignment, you can do that. The alignments are as follows. They are lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good. Then it is lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. If this is something that's important to you, feel free to use those. I personally think it kind of locks you into a certain play style. And every worst player is a chaotic neutral player. I crucified. Alright, now where were we? We are going to need armor class. Now, your base armor class is going to be 10 plus dexterity. So if you have no armor, you're going to take your armor class, the number 10, and you're going to add the dexterity. So, I would have 12. But, as I am playing a warlock, we're going to go to the warlock again. Classes. Go to the warlock. Scroll down to where it says starting items, starting equipment. And we start with this equipment. A light crossbow, or any simple weapon, a component pouch, an arcane focus, a scholar's pack or a dungeoneering pack, leather armor, any simple weapons, and 2 daggers. Now you can find this in the player's handbook. But I'm just going to Google it up real quick to find out what the AC for leather armor is. Okay. Where should be? Here it is. My first equipment. We'll do leather armor. This is 5th edition, yes. Leather armor is an 11 AC. So instead of having the base 10, it's going to be 11. And then plus my 2 dexterity. So 13. Cool. Now, my bad, chat. I'm getting a lot of messages on my phone. All of a sudden, I need to check real quick. Okay, there we go. Sorry. So, your initiative score is going to be a d20. Well, you're going to use a d20 to do initiative. But it is going to be a straight dexterity modifier. Initiative is when you start combat. So for this case, we have a +2 to initiative. It's going to be just 2, +2. Now, there are some races that have some bonuses to initiative. One of my favorite, the Haragon, which are a rabbit race. They're like little rabbit guys. They have proficiency in initiative, which is kind of funny to me. But that does mean that instead of having a +2 here, we'd have a +4. But it's just a bonus to your from your dexterity. Cool? Yuki, what do you mean I'm popular? I'm not popular. I'm a lame nerd. Okay. Now, hit points. Hit points, hit points, hit points, hit points, hit points. Hit points or hit dice are going to be very important. They're determined by what your class is. For instance, here if you look in class features, hit points, hit dice, 1d8 per warlock level. So you're going to find that dice. Find yourself a d8, and that's going to be your hit dice. Now, we don't need to roll it yet, okay? Because at first level, you get the maximum, which is good. Because if you didn't, what could happen right now is I could roll a 1. I didn't, but if I had, I could roll a 1. Then my constitution modifier could be a -1, which means my character would be dead. It would be dead. It would just be gone. It would never have existed. But because D&D is nice, you start with the full first hit dice. So a D8 means I have 8 hit points. And my constitution modifier is +1. So I start with 9 hit points. Hit dice is going to be determined by your class. Things like the barbarian get a D12. Wizards, I think, get a D6, and it varies. I think D12 is the highest it goes as far as I know. And so since my hit point maximum is 9, boom, current hit point's 9. Now when you're leveling up, this is going to change, okay? When you level up, if your DM says this is how it goes, you're going to get another hit dice, and you'll roll that dice. You'll take that number, and you'll add it with your constitution modifier. So I rolled a 3. That means my next level I'd only get 4 HP additional. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I would have only 13 HP, which sucks, but, you know, we're a warlock. We don't need to get too close. But as of right now, we only have the 1 hit dice, so we're fine. Also, your hit dice, the amount that you have, is determined by your level. If I was a level 4, I'd have 4 hit dice. If I was a level 2, I'd have 2 hit dice. This is not important for the character creation, but I'm going to bring it up now. During a short rest, you can roll your hit dice and regain that much HP. Okay? So for instance, right now, if we got in a fight and let's say I was at 6 HP, well, we took a short rest. I roll my dice and I can gain that back. This time I would have gained 6 HP back, which would have been lovely. But these dice only come back on a long rest, which will be important later, but we don't need to talk about right now. Hit dice here is where you see what your hit dice is. So mine is a D8, and we have 1D8. Cool? So far you should have a good majority of this figured out and written out here. I'm very proud of you for getting this far. Now, for those of you who came in late, I will be making a video, a completely scripted video with this, in the same sort of fashion, to walk you through how to make your character. And we're just doing this today for the little stream. Okay, good. we have the primary stuff here. Hypothetically, you could play with this. You wouldn't know how to attack anything. But any RP things, you would be fine. You could go with that. Let's continue, shall we? All right. Now is where fun stuff kicks in. At least my favorite ones. Also here, weapons, armor. We should actually determine our equipment. Ugh, I don't want to do my equipment. Fine, we'll do equipment. That is a thing, Firehawk. That would come up later. So, we're gonna go through our equipment here and pick out the equipment we can cast. My first choices is a light crossbow or any simple weapon. I'm gonna be lazy with this. We're gonna go grab a dagger, okay? So you're gonna go look up a dagger in your player's handbook. No. A dagger. Interesting. I've learned something new about daggers recently now, Chad. I guess they're adding additional functionality in the new D&D stuff. Okay. Okay, Echo, that's fine. That's fair. So I chose a dagger as my weapon. I pulled up the dagger. And so we're just going to name this Dagger. The dagger damage and type is 1d4 piercing. And the attack bonus here, since I'm proficient in it, and it's a dexterity weapon, is going to be +4. If it's a strength-based weapon, you'd be adding your strength score onto it and your proficiency bonus. Because this is a finesse weapon, I get to add my dexterity instead, which is nice. You cannot have a flamethrower as a weapon unless you work with your DM, but a flamethrower is not in base D&D, unfortunately. But you can fire flames. Or you can make fire bombs, but you're not going to be starting with those. Next, a component pouch or an arcane focus. So, when it comes to casting spells, there is oftentimes a physical component needed for the spells. You have two ways of handling this physical component. A, you get the random bullshit items they need. For instance, Fireball needs like bat guano and I think it's like charcoal or something. Basically the components for gunpowder. Or you can have an arcane focus. An arcane focus is going to be any sort of magically infused item that you use to cast your spells. It could be a staff, it could be a symbol, it could be a tattoo, whatever. You need these for casting certain spells. And if ever you lose it, you can't use items that require components. So, remember, Chad, remember what your arcane focus is, or else you have a DM like me who will take your arcane focus or ask you to trade it away. And then when you try to cast a spell, I'll be like, hey, how are you going to do that? You have no arcane focus. Okay. So I'll add that to equipment. 1 arcane focus. A scholar's pack or a dungeoneering pack. You can look up what the difference between these two are. But a Scholar's Pack usually has paper, ink, and that sort of thing, while a Dungeoneer's Pack comes with rations and rope and that sort of thing. Usually they all, I think, have food, but it also determines what else is in the pack. This only really matters if your DM is like me, who likes to actually use your packs. For instance, a Dungeoneering pack has a backpack, a crowbar, a hammer, 10 pittons, I think is what they're called, 10 torches, a tinderbox, 10 days of rations, a water skin, and 50 feet of hempen road. While a Scholar's Pack... Hello, Novely. How you doing? Thank you for the hydrate. Scholar's Pack has a backpack, a book of lore, a bottle of ink, an ink pen, 10 sheets of paper, a little bag of sand, and a small knife. Now you may notice that the Scholar's Pack doesn't have any food. So you better find a different way of eating. We will take a Dungeoneer's Pack. No food, only knowledge. Oh, wait a second. So, so I can have a light crossbow, a simple weapon, and a simple weapon, and 2 daggers, which are simple weapons. So, chat, I get 4 simple weapons. And do you know what I'm going to take, chat? Do you know what we're taking, chat? I have 4 daggers. We now have 4 daggers. So yes, I'm gonna be throwing daggers. You don't need a ranged weapon if you have daggers. You know what you just gotta do is stab and stab and stab and stab and stab and stab. Very easy, very simple. Just stabby, stabby, stab, stab, stab. Perfect. Okay. Good. Moving on. I shouldn't have picked a spellcaster, honestly, because that makes this even longer. Now, here's where you start getting into the nitty gritty of your classes, okay? Some have specializations at level 1. Others have specializations at level 2 or level 3, depending on what they are. Warlock starts at level 1. And so we're going to have to pick out which one of these patrons we want, who gives us our magic. We have a lot of options. Archfey, Celestial, Fathomless, Fiend, Genie, Great Old One, Hexblade, Undead, and Undying. I don't know what I want to pick. Chat, do you have any preference? If you could pick one of these, which would you like the most? Remember, this is going to be the person who's with you forever. The Fiend. A little goblin with a little fiend. Let's take a look at what the Fiend will give me. You made a pact with a fiend from the lower planes of existence, a being whose aims are evil, even if you strive against those aims. Such beings desire the corruption or destruction of all things, ultimately including you. Fiends powerful enough to forge pacts include demon lords, demigorgons, orcus, frazorulubulubulub, and Baphomet. Archdevils such as Asmodeus, Despater, Mephistopheles, and Belial. Pit fiends and balors that are especially mighty, and Ultroths, other lords of the Yugoloths. Doesn't that sound lovely, chat? Doesn't that sound lovely? So, if we take this, we start with Burning Hands, which use the spell. And hi Lola, how you doing? Command. Now, we're gonna grab these. attacks and spellcasting. We have Burning Hands and Command as our current spell list. There should be, yes. Check down here. So here's where I get to teach you all about spell levels, okay? So, it's going to be different for everybody. But when you look here in this section, you'll see spell slots. Now, for most spellcasting characters, there's going to be more than just the one spell slot level. They'll have maybe one first level spell, then 2 first level spells, then 4, then 6, then etc., 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 etc. Warlocks don't cast like that. Warlocks only have the 2 spell slots, maybe 3 or 4. But the thing is, the spells they cast are always at the highest level, which makes it easy. Why ever do anything half-ass when you can do it full-ass, you know, chat? Always full-ass it. And so since we're level 1, we'll have 1 spell slot. So we have 1 slot. We've expanded 0. Charisma, and we'll mess with the other stuff in just a second. Yes. Here, I'll make this a little bit easier for you, okay? Because the Warlock is the worst for this. I probably should have chosen Wizard. Here we go. Most characters with spells have spell slots like this. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all the way up to 9th. The Wizard starts with 2 first level. Next level, he gets 3. Next level, he gets 4. But then he gets 2 second level. And you can choose to cast it at any level. So, to explain this a little bit easier as well, let's say we had the Burning Hands spell, okay? We're going to pull it up here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, Burning Hands. Here's how the spell works. As you hold your hands with your thumb touching and finger spread, a thin sheet of flame shoots from your outstretched fingertips. Each creature in a 15-foot cone must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature takes 3d6 on a failed save, or have as much damage on a successful one. This is a level 1 spell when you cast it at that. 3d6, that means you'd roll a d6 3 times. I got a 2, a 1, and a 5. 5, 6, 7, 8. Everybody would take 8 damage. Okay? But let's say you have a level 2 spell slot and you want to do the same spell. Well, at higher levels, when you cast the spell using the spell slot at 2nd level or higher, you increase it by 1d6 each time. So this 3d6 cast at a level 2 spell slot becomes 4d6. So I'd add a 1 to that. At a level 30 spell slot, you get another dice, so I would add another 5. And that way these spells get stronger the more magic you're putting into casting them. Cool? Makes sense? Warlocks don't do that, though. Because warlocks don't understand magic. They just have magic. So instead of saying, I want to cast it at a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd level spell slot, they're just like, I'm a cast. And however much magic they can grab and put into the spell, they put into it. Which is why I love them so very, very much. They're magic casters for dummies. I do magic too. You throw a bomb at everything. Magic. No. Yes. Magic. You're good, Echo Rose. You never need to apologize for being late. Good. And that's why I like Warlocks, because Warlocks are cool. Yay. Okay. So going back to Warlocks. We know 2 spells We also know the additional spells we got from being a fiend, otherworldly patron. And so now we're going to do this. We're going to pull up spell lists, chat. Oh no, be very afraid. Be very afraid, chat. We're going to pull up the spell lists. We're going to have to go make more choices. If you don't want to make these choices, just don't do a magic caster. It's fine. It's fine. You don't need to do a magic caster. Spells. Now, each class that casts spells has their own spell book. Some of them cross over, but you're going to want to make sure you pick the spell book for what class you're playing. We're doing Warlock. We're not going to worry about cantrips. We're just going to get our first... Actually, we are going to worry about cantrips. Give me a second. I'm going to go back to see how many cantrips we get. That's the thing, chat. You're never going to know every single thing about every single class, but I think we start with 1, but we might get 2. Good. We know 2 cantrips. Okay. This is definitely going to have to be more structured when I make this into a video. Spells. Warlock. Cantrips. So first you get to pick 2 of these. Now I know what you're saying. Gene, there's so many choices. What do I pick? Which one of these spells do I want? Because a cantrip you can cast as much as you want. You just have that. You can do it all the time. It's like a gun with infinite bullets. They're not strong, but they get stronger the longer you use them, when the more levels you gain. And you might think, Gene, or in chat, that you have a choice here. But if you're playing a Warlock, you choose Eldritch Blast. And so we're going to put that on our cantrip, our level 0 spells. And the reason you do this is this. Eldritch Blast is a beam of cackling energy that shrinks towards a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the creature and deal 1d10. At higher levels, you gain more beams. And you have other features in a Warlock that build up this blast even more. So you pick Eldritch Blast, chat. You pick Eldritch Blast. Then you can pick whatever else you want. Do you want a magic stone? Do you want to do a minor illusion? Do you want to spray poison? Whatever sounds cool. Grab it. We're going to choose minor illusion, though, because that one's fun. You get to make little illusions. You can create a sound. You can make a little object. Yeah. I like it. You can make little things. You can confuse people and distract people. Minor illusions. Very nice. Perfect. Now, level 1, we start with Burning Hands, because we already got that with our Fiend. Welcome back, Nia. How was your walk? Oh. And we get 2 first level spells. Pick whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. It is gaslighting. I'm gonna do... Let's do Hex. And we're gonna do... Cause Fear. Cause Fear sounds fun. We'll do Cause Fear. Now remember, you can always go back to this website to see exactly what the spell does. But we don't need that right now. We're just grabbing stuff to fill out the character sheet. Okay? one to do, okay? We also have command. So we're going to put command there. I don't think I can really ear blow on this mic. See, I'm trying, but it doesn't work. I tried. You have to wait till I get the ears set up, okay? Aiko, did you shower? Have you showered yet, Stinky? Just kidding. Hi, Aiko. Alright, where were we? Command, burning hands, cause fear. Good. Still doing good. Okay. Ooh. Spell attack bonus is going to be... Make sure. Your spell attack bonus is going to be your proficiency, which is 2 right now for me, plus your spell attack modifier, which is 1. So that is 3, plus 3. And spell save DC is going to be 8, plus your proficiency modifier, plus spellcasting modifier. So 8 plus 3. 11. I do not smell like sweaty toes, chat. I do not smell like sweaty toes. I don't. No, I don't smell like sweaty toes. Now, here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to grab whatever additional little spells and stuff you have. So, for instance, the Fiend gets the plus here. That's starting at that first level. The Dark One's Blessing. And I find it easy to just copy this into features and traits. So you have the Dark One's Blessing. We already have all the equipment. We have our patron cantrips. We talked about spell slots, spell casting ability. We're already good. Oh, I forgot about Unchanged Invitations. I don't need those yet. That's at 2nd level. Yay. And then we go to the Goblin. Thank you for the lurk. And thank you so much for the follow, Mama Ellie. The Goblin has these additional features. We have the Dark Vision, Fury of the Small, and Nibble Escape. So we're going to copy these and throw it into our sheet here. Boom. And, oh, I forgot Passive Perception. It's going to be your Wisdom modifier plus 10. So it's 10. And this only matters when you're doing stuff and stuff happens when you're not looking for it. So technically, we're done. You don't have to do personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. But this would give you enough to have a working character sheet. You can do a background if you want, or if your DM insists on it. But this is all you really need to start playing D&D. if you are wanting backgrounds, the way that works is this. You go to your backgrounds, look at all the different backgrounds, and you pick anything from here. Let's say we're going to be a criminal. We're going to grab the criminal. It's going to give us additional skill. I swear I just saw something, chat. Oh, hydrate. Thank you. We're going to take additional skill proficiencies. This is going to give me stealth. And I already had deception, so I think one of my other options was Arcana. We'll take that. Then we get whatever tool proficiencies, a language, more equipment, and then you get to start rolling again. Yay! So, criminal specialities. I got a 7, so I'll be a pickpocket. Perfect. So we'll go back here. I'm just going to throw it up here in personality traits, but it should probably go in features. Criminal contact. Here's something that we have. Now we get to roll personality traits. A 6. I don't pay attention to the risk and situation. Never tell me the odds. It's going to be my personality trait. Ideals. 5. I'm loyal to my friends, not to any ideals, and everyone else can take a trip down the sticks for all I care. Bonds. 6. Someone I love died because of a mistake I made. That'll never happen again. And flaws. 2. When I'm faced with a choice between money and my friends, I usually choose money. Oh, I like that. I have the people I'm loyal to, my friends, not any ideals. But if money comes up, I'm going to choose the money. That is. Now, the reason why you don't need these is because you can determine your own personality traits, your ideals, and all of that. But this here will give you, a different way of role-playing your character. So, now we're done. I like it. I like it. I like the idea of, I'm loyal to friends. Like, friends matter more to me. But also money, though, because I greedy. People are conflicting people, You can then do all this other little stuff if you want to do age, height, weight, eyes, skin, hair, etc., 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 etc. But here's your basics. Any questions, any concerns, any comments? I will be making a full, detailed video on this with a more in-depth walkthrough guide done in the same style. But I think this is a good starting point. Exactly, Echo. Exactly. I will take the money, but I'll come back and save you. And yeah. Basic overview. We'll do something a little bit better, more structured in a video, but yeah. Now, chat, guess what? How long do you think that took? Take a guess. It was almost 2 hours. 1.5 hours, almost 2. I guess we did do some yapping. And you know what that means, chat? We are coming up on the end of stream here. But I had fun. I hope you all enjoyed me yapping, talking about D&D. I hope those of you who wanted to make a D&D character were able to do so. Yes, already. We stream for 2 hours at a time. I'll be back later today again. Of course. Stinky. I know one of you is stinky. Which one of you is it? Give Nia the bug. They'll be fine. Just hug them. Okay. We are going to find something to raid into. Oh, don't go anywhere, Vonnie. We're going to raid out. So let's see who we have to raid out to. Shrimp. Shrimp. Because I know Vonnie loves shrimp. We're going to raid into shrimp. Do not buy Big Macs. They're garbage sandwiches. Get rid of all Big Macs. Big Macs should be destroyed. Big Macs should be destroyed. Big Macs should be destroyed. All right. We're going to raid shrimp 247. Oh, never mind. That's the wrong one. It's raid shrimps 247. There we go. Because there's more shrimps. So, lovelies, go say hello to the shrimps. Be the best you can be for me. And I will be back later today at 4 p.m. Okay? Copy that raid message. And I will see you all later. Mwah. Bye.